In the last few minutes, like usually we start with a recap, but as we speak, Iran struck 2 ships off the Strait of Hormuz, Emirati ships off the Strait of Hormuz going through the Omani side of the Strait of Hormuz. There's reports of a third one being struck. There's explosions heard in Dubai and Abu Dhabi. I'm assuming this is the air defenses active or the missiles being fired at the ships off the coast. And this happened before, so that I would guess this is the explosions. I haven't gotten an alert or heard anything myself, but I'm pretty, kind of in a place that is pretty secluded. And then that's while the US is bombing Iran. I think they've ended now about 30 minutes ago, at least this latest wave. It's been 30 minutes. They haven't bombed 45 minutes, but they've bombed the same locations we've seen them hit time and time again for the last few weeks. And that's Bandar Abbas, Bandar Kangan, Siri, Kish, Jam, Jas, Konarak, everything down south. So that's the military action that we've seen. And the big news before that, before we're going to go through everything, including Trump's call with MBS that Axios allegedly leaked a few minutes ago, is Trump's announcement that the blockade is back on, the blockade of Iran yesterday or the day before Iran closed the Strait of Hormuz, and that the US will charge a fee of 20% for non-Iranian ships using the Strait of Hormuz. Oh, because they're now the guardians of the Hormuz.
I thought the U.S. was against charging tolls.
Oh, okay. Well, that's what Arachi said. Arachi made fun of him. Arachi made a post. He's saying, Trump, I'll actually read it. POTUS, Trump, he's absolutely right. Whoever provides secure and safe passage of commercial vessels through the Strait of Hormuz should be compensated for his services. Iran has always been the guardian of the Straits and will remain so forever. 20% is, of course, much. We will be fair. That was Arachi's post.
Yeah, just trolling the hell out of Trump. And look, so let me start off by saying my hopes that this was going to be another what I call whipsaw event, where they bomb and bomb, and then Trump at the last minute says, "Oh, we're pieces at hand." Okay, I was wrong. That didn't happen. Just the opposite. Trump has now declared a new war. So under the old war notification to Congress, that ended. Hey, we signed an agreement. This is new now. So he's now got 60 days. The problem is the United States is at a tremendous disadvantage. What did Centcom say was its objective? Its objective is to destroy Iran's ability to interfere with ships that want to pass through the Strait of Hormuz. The problem with that is Iran probably has 1,000 sites from the north end to the southern end of the Strait of Hormuz, just on the coast, 1,000 sites that they can launch missiles from. And when one's destroyed, they can actually rebuild it, and rearm there. So that means the United States is trying to play whack-a-mole with 1,000 pop-up holes. Iran, on the other hand, only has to worry about 7 or 8 total targets. So in the UAE, Duqm, it's the logistics resupply base for the U.S. Navy. That's in Oman, in Oman. In Dubai, you've got the airfield, and then you got the Al Ruwais refinery. If Iran takes that out, totally screws the U.S. ability to supply planes with jet aviation fuel. Al Udeid Air Force Base, you've got the bases, two bases in Kuwait they got to worry about, sort of 2 bases in Bahrain they got to worry about, and then the 2 military bases in Jordan. So Iran only has to worry about 8 to 10 targets total, and they can keep pounding the shit out of them every night with ballistic missiles. So you tell me who's got the advantage. The United States has got to play whack-a-mole with 1,000 sites, or Iran, which can hit 10 sites over and over and over and over, and every time degrade the ability of the United States to retaliate.
Yeah. No, I agree with this assessment. I think the US has the warships that are away from the Iranian coast. But I just don't think there is not enough in these other targets that the Iranians, the limited targets the Iranian can strike. But I agree mainly with especially with the first point, in that you cannot degrade Iran's ability to keep striking the Strait. Not only do they have thousands of locations, but also new drone. Anyone with a drone could just pop up anywhere on the southern coast, on that massive coast, and just fire a drone at those ships, and that's enough to freak out the insurance companies. So it's just like the strategy here is to cause Iran, the way I see it, if I'm on the fly in that room, will be I said it earlier, use a big stick and a big carrot. So keep striking Iran with a bigger stick. Like, I'm going to bomb you harder and harder and harder. I know it doesn't work. I don't think it will work.
It's irrelevant. Yeah. So, okay, it's not a big stick. They think it's a big stick. They're like the guy that says he's got a 10-inch cock and it's really 3 inches long, okay?
So they use what they think is a 10-inch stick. And then they also have a big juicy carrot, what they think is a big juicy carrot. It's like lifting a lot of sanctions, unfreezing of assets.
Oh yeah.
For Iran to give up the fee.
We promised we're going to lift. They already did that. They already promised that. They signed it on June 17th, and they didn't do it. So the key thing that happened today is the Iranian legislature is now reconvened, and when the Iranian parliament reconvenes, they're going to say we're withdrawing from the NPT. We're going to authorize more action on the part of our forces, and there's not going to be any MOU. We're done negotiating with the United States, which means Iran if they withdraw from the NPT, I think the decision's been made that they're going to develop a nuke.
There's also another thing talking about nukes. Trump did say he might on a Fox News interview. Now, Trump does say a lot of things, so some of it is like he's speaking the truth because he doesn't have a filter, and some of it is just complete BS. And it's like almost nothing in the middle. So it's like one extreme or the other in most cases. He did say that he's thinking about striking, or he could be striking Pickaxe Mountain, the entrance to Pickaxe Mountain, because they can't really get to the underground facilities. That's something that hasn't been struck in the war.
Wait. How could he strike that? He obliterated it. Don't you remember? He obliterated it.
No, I don't think they've targeted Pickaxe Mountain, if I'm not mistaken. They've obliterated Isfahan, and those have been completely obliterated. He will obliterate Pickaxe Mountain. But Pickaxe Mountain is the deepest, just for the audience, it's the deepest. This is where everyone believes that Iran has their enriched uranium. It's the deepest underground facilities. And I think one of the reasons it wasn't struck is that it cannot be reached. Oh, is this it? Interesting. It's just way too deep for anything to be able to reach it. The bunker busters. Isfahan and all them are deep. This one is the deepest out of them all and has never been targeted. Now Trump did say, even Trump, he didn't say he'll obliterate Pickaxe Mountain. He said he'll strike the entrance of it, knowing that this is the only thing that they could do, block the entrance so the Iranians can't access it. Obviously, all the Iranians need to do afterwards when there's a ceasefire is excavate the entrance, as they did in other entrances.
Any possibility they may have some other hidden entrances?
Oh, obviously, yeah.
Okay.
There's possibilities to that. So, all right. So we've talked about the Iranian ships. Sorry, the Emirati ships struck. Sorry, 2 Emirati ships and one third ship. We don't know who owns it. We know that there's 1 Indian crew member that was killed on one of the ships, according to the Emiratis, and 8 others that were injured. We know that the U.S. bombed all these different locations that I was just going through earlier. Before that, this is a very important development. There's other statements by Trump, etc. We'll go through. But before that, there's the Yemen. Actually, Lisa, you can play the footage of that plane, the strike on the airport that we showed earlier, and the plane landing afterwards. So there's a plane, an Iranian plane that had a Houthi delegation or Yemeni delegation landing in Sana'a Airport, the international airport in the Houthi-controlled part of Yemen, which is the majority of Yemen. So that was going to go land there, and that was breaking a blockade that was set by the Saudis of Yemen for 11 years, I think. So it was a pretty big event for the Iranians. They broke that for the Yemenis. Now remove the audio. Thank you. Yeah, no audio. This is it landing. You can see the people coming out in a sec. So after the airport was so what the Saudis did, they hit the airport. They bombed the main airport. So it diverted and went into another. I was speaking to Pepe about it earlier. Diverted and went into another airport. Actually, I think it happened while we were speaking earlier today. Now, and the Houthis reacted. They responded. They fired many missiles at the Saudi airport. What do you make of that? That's in Yemen, by the way. What do you make of what's happening there?
Well, yeah. So Saudi Arabia appears to be keen on committing suicide because, you know, they're not going to stop. Hell, the United States could not stop the Houthis from launching ballistic missiles. And Saudi Arabia is ridiculous. So what the Yemenis did today, they hit Abha and King Fahd airports. So they hit 2 airports. Saudis hit 1 airport. Houthis said, "Oh, we'll double you. We'll hit 2." And their next target will be Yanbu, the oil terminal. That once they hit that with 4 ballistic missiles, they'll shut that down. And so all of a sudden, Saudi Arabia is now screwed that its one outlet to the Red Sea is closed. That's where this is headed.
Yeah, exactly. In my view,
and the Saudis can't do a damn thing to stop the Houthis. They had 6 years to try it. They failed. The United States came in, tried it, and failed. And the Houthis, up to this point, were sort of minding their own business. Now they're going to shut down Bab el-Mandab. They'll shut that down. And then they take out Yanbu. Saudi Arabia is completely hosed.
Yeah, so Brandon was telling me how he was surprised at how Saudi and the Houthis are clashing because he thought Saudi and Iran have relations between them have been improving. And also I can add to it that there's been reports that Saudis paid the Houthis so the Houthis don't attack them in the war. Now, my observation would be that the Saudis are doing this because they're worried or they're expecting war to restart. Because if war restart, the Strait of Hormuz will be closed. The Saudis will be trying to gain control. I'm not saying it will work. I'm saying that what their strategic thinking could be. They'll try to gain control of the Strait of Hormuz by defeating the Houthis that they haven't been able to do for years, as you've mentioned. But I'm just trying to understand why the Saudis are doing this to then ensure the Bab el-Mandeb Strait does not get closed if the Strait of Hormuz is closed. Because if both are closed, then Saudi's screwed. Saudi's in the best position in the Gulf because it has the East-West pipeline down into the Red Sea. But that becomes useless if the Houthis close the Strait of Hormuz.
Now, so if your goal is you want to make sure that Yanbu stays open and get access to the Strait of Hormuz, Bab el-Mandab, if you're Saudi, your goals should be we need to have the best relationship we can with the Houthis. If the Houthis are our friends, they're not going to stop us. Instead, these dumb shits in Saudi Arabia decided, oh yeah, let's attack them. That'll do it. Stupid. MBS is a screwed up individual. There's zero strategic thinking that goes into this, and because Iran, to its credit, yesterday they didn't target any Saudi bases.
Didn't they target? Yesterday, didn't they target? What did they strike in Saudi? Wasn't there attacks in Saudi, or they were intercepting attacks on Oman?
I don't think they attacked anything in Saudi.
Bahrain, sorry.
Yeah, they did Bahrain, Kuwait, Qatar, Oman. I don't know if they did UAE yesterday, but they're going to do UAE. They're doing UAE today, which is, the United States. Hey, UAE, hey, Emiratis, we're with you guys all the way. And then the U.S. says, we're closing the embassy. Good luck, guys.
Yeah, they closed it today. Yeah, they did.
Yeah, they built out Emiratis. Hey, buddies, you're on your own. Good luck. Send us a note.
In terms of the Saudis yesterday, so there were explosions in Saudis, but there were conflicting reports on whether Saudi was targeted or they were targeting Bahrain and Saudi was intercepting. Similar to the Emirati, was the Emirates targeted 2 days ago, or were they intercepting attacks on Oman? So I don't have the answer to that.
The key is were there explosions at Prince Saud Air Base? Not to my knowledge, no. The only other air bases that have been hit where there were explosions. King Fahd and Abha, that happened today, and that was the Houthis. Yeah, so, but now, so Iran is, the United States is launching these attacks. The I explained my ignorance. I hadn't really looked into the difference with, we talked to HIMARS. Apparently HIMARS is just a launching platform. It's not a missile. The ATACMS are launched from a HIMARS. So those were ATACMS missiles apparently. And the US has got significant supply chain problems with every one of its offensive missile systems, whether you're talking Tomahawks, JASSMs, or ATACMS. They're all dependent on rare earth minerals. Those are not available. They are in limit. Whatever the United States has in its stored up, once they use that, it's gone. So they're limited in what they can produce, and the same applies to PAC-3 cruise missiles for the Patriot system.
Yeah.
And don't forget the THAADs. They used up like 50% of the THAADs in the first 40 days. So they're going to be running on empty on that as well. They have to cue up the Jackson Browne song.
So there's a report here from Axios as well, talking about Saudi and Yemen. That let me find it. Actually, I should have saved it. Actually, I did save it, but essentially it says that the MBS spoke to Trump before striking the airport in Sana'a. There it is. Axios reports that Trump gave MBS his backing for military action against the Houthis before the strike on Sana'a. So he did get authorization or support, not actual military support, but at least political diplomatic support. The official said MBS requested U.S. support during a phone call with Trump after warning Washington about the growing threat from the Houthis. Okay, so I don't know what that support includes because we don't know. As far as I know, the U.S. was not part of that strike. Let me see if I have more information. All right, let me read the whole thing. Trump backed Saudi MBS ahead of Saudi strike on the Houthi targets. After diplomatic contacts between Saudi and U.S. officials, MBS spoke with Trump on Friday and requested backing for military action against the Houthis, which Trump granted. The confrontation began after a Mahan aircraft landed in Sana'a and transported a Houthi delegation to the funeral of Ali Khamenei, the first such Iranian flights to the city in more than a decade. Saudi subsequently blocked further flights, with a U.S. official describing Mahan Air as the IRGC airline. When another Iranian aircraft approached Sana'a on Monday, Saudi forces struck the airport, forcing the plane to divert to Al-Hudaydah airport, which we were showing the footage of earlier. A U.S. official claimed it was carrying weapons, missile parts, and military experts for the Houthis. The Houthis later retaliated with missiles and drones. So, Trump, at least one could say, authorized the strikes against Yemen. Also on the pickaxe matter we were talking about earlier, I just saw someone posted about it. I'll read what they said. They explained it better than I did. So Pickaxe Mountain nuclear site is the elephant in the room that nobody has been talking about. One, it almost certainly holds Iran's enriched uranium stockpile. Two, it is very likely a covert enrichment site. We know for sure that at least some centrifuges were moved to a hole below the mountain. Both sides are conveniently silent about this, Iran and the US. Three, Iran has been actively expanding it during and after the recent wars. Why nobody in the US talk about this until now? Because it's basically impossible to take out. Once they point it out, something has to be done about it. That means one of two things: tactical nuclear weapon or a ground operation. And Trump did point it out today. So that's why the person posting this is concerned. Funny enough, there was another...
Well, just let me stop you there. Tactical nuclear weapon. The site was designed to withstand a nuclear blast. Okay, so that's not going to do anything other than piss everybody off and probably accelerate Iran's decision. Okay, we got to show them we got a nuke too. We can do it. Ground operation, suicide mission. No way in hell. Yeah, could the United States launch a ground operation of some sort? Yeah. Would the attacking forces survive and get out? Probably not. So, and at the end, what have you accomplished? Other than demonstrating again the weakness of the United States.
I agree. I don't think these two scenarios are likely whatsoever. We got a few statements from Trump. The ones worth reading. Well, there's one thing Trump did that you mentioned at the beginning of our discussion is he formally notified Congress that fighting has resumed. So that 60-day clock has restarted, which is pretty much the closest thing to war restarting that one could mention.
Yeah,
that one could have.
So. Oh no, it's restarted. Okay, let's just be. It has restarted. It's not. He declared the ceasefire dead. He declared the MOU dead. The war's restarted. So from Iran's standpoint, there's no more viable MOU. So it's back to square one until they'll keep this up until Iran can afflict more damage on the United States in the next 10 days than the U.S. can inflict on Iran. Just a matter of size. It's not, if the United States had 1,000 targets, 1,000 sites that it's operating from, then that would stretch Iran's ability to retaliate and really hurt the United States. But that's not the case. The United States is confined basically to Ben Gurion Airport and the 2 air bases in Jordan. If they dare put any kind of aircraft closer in Al Udeid or at the air base, and I forget the name of the air base there in the UAE. Is it Al Rafah?
No, Al-Afqa is the Jordan one, I think. The UAE one, you could show that map, by the way, is the Al Udeid air base. No, that's Qatar. The UAE
that's Qatar.
One,
Qatar's Al Udeid.
Yeah,
you got Prince Hassan and Muwafaq Al Salti in Jordan. I forget the name of the air base in
Al Dhafra.
Al Dhafra. Okay, Al Dhafra. So, if the United States tries to operate from Al Dhafra and Al Udeid, those aircraft are going to be extremely vulnerable, and those airfields will be pretty well chewed up. So the point is, Iran's got a lot more room for escalation and sustainment than the United States does.
Yeah, and you add to it as well the political calculations that Trump has to take into consideration with the midterms, the economic ramifications with oil prices, the depleted munitions, which probably is, for me, I consider a big one that not enough people are talking about. So if you add those to the mix, and the fact that this is a war of choice for the US, but an existential war for Iran, I think all these, putting those into the mix, just makes it even more likely that the US will blink first. All right, so we'll go back to the news. So we've talked. Trump did announce earlier today that there'll be strikes today and tomorrow. There's been reports out of Iran that Iran will announce its withdrawal from the MOU officially. Not that it means anything, but be an official withdrawal. I'll read out the Trump post earlier today. I know you saw it. Most people have, but for anyone that hasn't, I'll read it out. That's the post that got, started getting we started seeing a spike in oil prices today. It started with this post and then accelerated significantly and faster when Yemen struck Saudi, which is a much more significant event in all this today from an energy perspective. So that's Trump's post today. The Hormuz Strait is open and will remain open with or without Iran. We are reinstating the Iranian blockade, so named because it is only stopping Iran's ships or customers from entering or leaving. All other, just to be clear, the blockade of Iran that we saw earlier was not a full blockade. A lot of ships were going through. Some different people mentioned different figures, but ships were going through. That's for sure. All other countries will have fair and open use of the straits. The US will, from this point forward, be known as the guardian of the Hormuz Strait. But as such, and as a matter of fairness, will be reimbursed at the rate of 20% on all cargo shipped for any and all costs necessary to do the job, providing safety and security for this volatile section of the world. The process and formation will begin immediately. And also, Axios reported not long after that the US hasn't discussed this issue of the tolls being charged with its allies in the region, with the Gulf. So they were all caught by surprise. There's actually something interesting. I asked one of the guests today why he thinks why can't the US walk away and let Iran charge a fee? And he was talking about the great bargain after World War II, that for the US hegemony, for the US dollar to be the reserve currency and the hegemonic currency of the world, the US has to ensure freedom of passage. It has to be the guarantor of security across the world. That's been the case for decades. And as soon as the US gives that up, in this case, gives it up to Iran and the Strait of Hormuz, the US essentially, the image of being the guarantor of freedom of navigation around the world shatters. And that will be a big stain, and it will cause a lot of damage to the US dollar long term. So that, from an economic perspective, go ahead.
They've already given it up.
Yeah, I see the argument.
US doesn't control dick. Controls nothing. I mean, all it is big talk. Strait of Hormuz is open. Yeah, and you can land on Mars if you want. Well, but there's no way to get to Mars, and they have no way to open the Strait of Hormuz. I mean, if the Strait of Hormuz is opening, why are they bombing Iran? I mean, it's just very simple. So I try to deal with just logic and simple things here, but just, if the Strait of Hormuz is open, then why does the United States have to go back to war with Iran? Because the Strait of Hormuz is open, according to Trump and according to Centcom. So, okay, guys, if it's open, then why are you bombing? Because it's not open. So stop lying.
Yeah, so this is so that was the explanation they gave on why the US can't just, what I've been advocating for a while, is just for the US to walk away. Just accept Iran will charge a fee in the Strait of Hormuz, and the countries that will pay that fee will be Asian countries, and Europe will be secondary. The US uses the Straits a lot less than the rest of the world. So this is not that significant for the US economy, but a lot more significant for the rest of the world. And the argument they made to me is that
I beg to differ. It is extremely significant for the US economy. Without that Persian Gulf oil, the United States does not have enough sour crude to produce diesel and aviation fuel to meet existing demands. So diesel and aviation fuel are sort of two of the key components for the success of the U.S. economy. So, and we haven't even talked LNG and helium and sulfur and urea.
Yeah, no. What I mean is not the Strait of Hormuz not being important. If the Strait of Hormuz closed, considering how intertwined the global economy is, it's horrific for the U.S. economy and the global economy. What I mean, if Iran does end up charging a fee, that fee would not be existential for the U.S. economy.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. My apologies. So yes, you're correct. You're correct.
So when I mentioned that, so I'm trying to understand from my mind, why can't Trump just walk away? And the explanation he was giving, it was more of an economic. He's a trader. He's a commodities trader. He's like, Mario, if Trump does walk away and gives up the Strait of Hormuz, which may be inevitable anyway, but if he just gives it up, that would be very damaging for U.S. dollar hegemony around the world. So that is why Trump either won't give it up or won't give it up without a fight. At least he'll try pretty hard to get Iran to concede on that point.
Did he even acknowledge that the U.S. hegemony with the petrodollar is already in trouble?
Yeah, he is. He's very concerned about the U.S. economy, and he's a big supporter. He believes energy prices should be a lot higher. He's a supporter of hard assets, and he believes the European and the U.S. economy are in a very, very deep trouble.
Yeah. Who was it, by the way? Just out of curiosity.
I forgot. I forgot.
I'll go back and have to watch it. Save me some time. I just curious who it was.
No, I think you like him. His name is Jeffrey Curry. Jeffrey Curry.
Oh, Jeffrey Curry. Yeah. No,
he's great.
Yeah, I think if I don't know if you misstated or if he misstated, but the petrodollar didn't only emerge in the 1970s after the U.S. went off the gold standard. It wasn't petrodollar prior to that. It was just the gold standard at the end of World War II. So from the start of Bretton Woods, 1947, 48, until 1972, they had about a 24-year run. Then they had to give up the gold and went to the petrodollar, which is then, so that's been 54 years under the petrodollar, but that's dead. The petrodollar is dying. It is not because the payment that Iran's been accepting for its $7 billion worth of oil, Chinese yuan, the renminbi. So
renminbi. All right, so that's on the Trump statement side. He talks about how he's destroyed their economy, destroyed their military, destroyed whenever they send a drone, we hit them hard, etc. It's the same statements he's made before, demolished their military, we're hitting them very hard. He talks about having a deal yesterday. So he says this, we had a deal yesterday or the day before yesterday, it was all done. And then they broke up. They broke up that deal immediately because they found out there was something in the deal they didn't like. And then he starts criticizing, they're wired differently. We're not going to put up with it. We are just going forward. I don't know if he's referring, because usually he's always, not always, sorry, I'll rephrase that. A lot of times when Trump says something, there'd be something that actually happened. And obviously he talks about it, but twists it in most cases in his own way. I don't know if he's referring to that disagreement when the Iranians went to Oman. The Omanians told them, hey, let's have two corridors, one northern one southern one, where Arachi was there, remember, 2 days ago? And Arachi went back to Tehran, said, screw this. Tehran fired at missiles at ships. Maybe that's what Trump is referring to, that there was that deal that Trump was hoping they'd accept and they didn't.
Well, it wasn't a deal for Trump to make because Trump had already signed the MOU, which gave Iran and only Iran the right to determine how to safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz. And that included the Omani right. And it did not include in there a requirement that Iran had to consult with Oman or get Oman's permission, nothing of the sort. But anyway, come back to, the lies of Donald Trump. He won the war. They won the war against Iran. They obliterated their military, their air force, their navy, their ground forces, all obliterated. So now he's restarting a war against a foe that he totally vanquished. At some point you got to start blowing the whistle that says, this is a load of horse hockey.
You've got Iran's military central command put out a statement. There's one part of it, just a warning to the Gulf. Quote, leaders of regional countries are warned that any cooperation with the US and the provision of logistical support to its aggressive military constitutes an act of war against Iran's sovereignty and national security. Should war spread in the region, the flames of war will engulf all countries in the region. So it's a clear warning today. That was this morning against the Gulf and any country that's offering logistical support, so offering their military bases, their airports, their ports, like Oman. They struck the Omani port, their closest ally in the Gulf, or the country they're friendliest with in the Gulf. That's a warning for the Gulf. Remember how we were discussing 3 days ago, where the Iranians may be more constrained this time around to strike the Gulf. It would take a lot more for Iran to start striking the Gulf because Iran is improving relations with multiple Gulf countries. There have been diplomatic efforts by multiple Gulf countries. Some of them might have unfrozen assets, etc. So for Iran to strike them would kind of destroy a lot of that progress that's been made. And for that to happen, for Iran to do this, the US needs to escalate to a certain level that was higher than the level of during the war. So the threshold has increased. And we're kind of seeing that. The Gulf is being struck, but not the same way it was struck during the war. During the war, you'd be hearing explosions in the UAE, more explosions in Saudi, etc. We haven't gotten to that, but we're getting close. Qatar had a lot of explosions. Potentially UAE and Saudi got struck. It hasn't been confirmed whether it was actually struck or not. But we're getting very, very close to the level of attacks Iran has.
Well, and let's be clear. Iran is only striking bases, ports that are being used by the United States to carry out attacks against Iran. So very, they're not just hitting, some isolated hamlet in UAE or Qatar. They're hitting targets that are military targets. And they're military targets because the U.S. is operating there. It shouldn't be too confusing.
Talking about targets in the Gulf, explosions in Bahrain, sirens in Bahrain. So the bases people are seeing on the screen right now are probably the bases that will be some of them will be struck today. There's the one, obviously, they'll target the one in Kuwait, the one in Bahrain, Qatar, those will definitely be struck. We'll see about the UAE, Saudi, Jordan will obviously be struck, or most likely. We'll see about Saudi, the UAE, and Oman. It's going to be interesting to see what they're targeted. And one interesting thing in cases like these is to see what countries are being targeted. It gives you an idea of the diplomacy happening behind the scenes, but also which countries are playing a biggest role in the American operations. So that's started already. There's sirens have been activated in Bahrain. And probably we'll start getting reports of explosions there, explosions from the air defenses and explosions from likely impacts. Well, there's a statement here by the Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesperson, Ismail Baghei, about the Gulf. He said Iran does not attack, and goes to your point. He said Iran does not attack and will not attack any regional country. He said Iran's defensive strikes are directed only against U.S. bases, facilities, and positions used to attack Iran, including logistical and support assets. Quote, we will not hesitate to defend ourselves. Any area used to attack Iran will be subjected to Iranian defensive measures. So just making the point you made earlier.
Yep.
The Foreign Ministry also said that Iran will not agree to the IAEA's request for access to Iran's nuclear facilities. Obviously, we're in a state of war right now. And Trump, we talked a lot about the assassination attempt. It really seems to be on Trump's mind. There's two developments today on that story. Trump did say in the morning, one of the first things he said in an interview, 5.2% of presidents are killed and 8.5% are shot. Being the president is dangerous. So it's pretty clear that he's really worried about this. And also today, Hegseth announced, let me see if it's today. Let's see if it's today. But he announced an investigation into leaks, and that comes right after the New York Times leaks. I don't know if they're taking... There it is, yeah. And Hegseth announced the establishment of a joint task force between the Department of Justice and the Pentagon to investigate and prosecute unauthorized leaks of sensitive information to news media outlets. So right after the big New York Times leak where the journalists have been summoned to testify, Trump has been talking about him getting assassinated on an almost daily basis. And now we have Hegseth announcing an investigation into and prosecution of those who leak. And Iran is, not easing up on the rhetoric either. He said the deputy of the Iranian Supreme National Security Council, Ali Baghei, said that punishing those responsible for the assassination of Ali Khamenei, the supreme leader, and other deaths is the right of the Iranian nation. He said the people have emphasized this demand during the 130 nights of street gatherings. Quote, we must deal with the commanders, perpetrators, and accomplices who had a hand in the assassination of our dear leader and in targeting our compatriots. So this is the another senior official in the IRGC in Iran, or not IRGC, in Iran, the deputy of the Iran Supreme National Security Council, talking about avenging the death of Ali Khamenei. So... And I actually asked Professor Pape about it today, and him and one other guest said that they expect, I can't remember the other guest, Pepe Escobar. Both Pepe and Robert Pape earlier today were talking about how they would expect this risk of any attack on Trump, whether it's by Iran, by an IRGC commander, or just by a lone wolf, would exist for years and decades to come. So someone could avenge the death of Ali Khamenei 15 years from now. And not only is Trump in danger, in Professor Pape's view, but also his family's in danger as well. The killing of Ali Khamenei, he did a comparison to the fatwa released by Ali Khamenei against the journalist, the one that got stabbed in the eye, that wrote that satanic verses book. The verse.
Salman Rushdie.
Exactly. And he was using that as an example. And I just found out today that Salman Rushdie was stabbed many, many years after the fatwa was released. I'm not sure if that's true. I haven't checked this. But it just shows that the danger of an attack on Trump, again, could be by a lone wolf.
Who is the first one to attack a leader of another country? Was
in this war?
Iran
Trump,
attacking the United States, or Trump attacking Iran? It was Trump. First with Soleimani, and now with Ali Khamenei.
And dozens of other leaders.
So you think you can do this and not suffer any consequences? Welcome to his mythical world. Now, I frankly think Iran's not going to waste his time trying to, kill Trump. They're going to spend time destroying the ability of the United States to remain in the Persian Gulf. Each day this war goes on, it reduces, they destroyed radars. Iran destroyed radars, and I think the latest was in either Oman or Bahrain. One of those. You destroy those radars. It's not like you got something off the shelf. You just grab it and say, "Hey, let's put another one in there." The radars, again, they use rare earth minerals. They use things that are controlled now by China and its supply chain, and it limits what the United States can produce to replace it.
Yeah, well, I'm getting more reports of explosions in Bahrain now. And there's just a report of explosions in Bushehr, in Iran's Bushehr. That's where the nuclear facility is located, the nuclear power plant. So hopefully that's not being targeted. Because they targeted a location, I'm not sure if you covered that, but they targeted apparently one of the centers next to the power plant, a nuclear research center. The Americans targeted it 3-4 days ago. Confirmed, so Strait of Hormuz numbers, tanker trackers, 26 days into the 60-day Islamabad MOU, over 80 million. So that's interesting. Since the ceasefire, over 80 million barrels of Iranian crude oil and refined products has been shipped out, worth more than $6 billion. And we'll see if the U.S. Navy blockade, with the U.S. Navy blockade now reinstated over a month early, roughly 30 million of crude oil to depart. So there's a lot more oil, 30 million barrels left to depart that the American blockade could start to impede. But just shows $6 billion of oil has been shipped out since the ceasefire, since the MOU was signed, or since the ceasefire, since the ceasefire in Islamabad. No, since the MOU. 26 days. So over 26 days, they've shipped out $6 billion. Jesus Christ.
But that's $6 billion's a minimal estimate, because if they're getting actually 105 to $110 a barrel, that's closer to probably $10 billion, $9 billion.
That's wild. And traffic in the Strait of Hormuz, actually, I know you like to see the map. You can show this, Lisa. Larry's World Cup. So according to Kepler, confirmed Strait of Hormuz crossings declined since the attacks, declined by 52% in the last week over week, over July 10th to 12th, with traffic reverting to more defensive routing patterns. If you could play that on the screen, Lisa, it'd be great. I'm getting more reports of an explosion in Bushehr, by the way, which is not good. Let's see what's targeted. So this shows the ships going through. Yeah, most of them. I haven't seen one go through the Omani side. Obviously, they can turn off their transponders, but I wouldn't expect many to go through. That's one sneaked out. So with the transponders on, I see only one ship that have sneaked out from the Omani side and a few out of the Iranian side. And after the cruise missiles fired at least 2 ships, and again, it's cruise missiles, not loitering munitions or drones, cruise missiles fired at 2 to 3 ships today. I would expect the Omani side to, the traffic there to drop significantly more.
Yeah, it's bad news for the world economy.
Okay, there's this story. Get your thoughts on. We discussed it already. You could take that off, Lisa. Thanks. So this is a New York Times story, kind of doubling down on a previous story. We've discussed it, but it's good to mention it again, and you can give us your thoughts again on it. Israel spent several years secretly cultivating former Iranian President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad as a potential intelligence asset and possible leader of Iran in case of regime change. As part of the effort, by the way, Ahmadinejad's office already put out a statement refuting those claims. As part of the effort, Israeli intelligence met Ahmadinejad abroad on several occasions, including in Budapest, where academic and climate conferences were used as cover for secret meetings. Former Mossad chief David Barnea personally met Ahmadinejad in the Hungarian capital in 2024, while Israel also paid for some of his housing and travel expenses. The plan culminated during the recent war when Mossad operatives extracted Ahmadinejad from his Tehran compound in a black Peugeot car following an Israeli airstrike and rushed him into a safe house in Iran as part of a broader regime change operation. Okay, I didn't see that part. The operation ultimately failed after Ahmadinejad left the safe house under unclear circumstances. Iranian officials say he is now under house arrest after authorities uncovered his alleged contacts with Israel. Ahmadinejad's office put out a statement saying those claims are untrue.
Yeah.
It'll be good to get your thoughts on it again, Larry.
Ahmadinejad was a radical compared to Pezeshkian.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's just a ridiculous story. It's, you know, it's called more Israeli disinformation. They tell you, oh, look at what a great job we did. We penetrated it. We had him in our pocket. Okay. Sure you did.
I thought Ahmadinejad was very pro-Israel, no?
Dude.
It's a joke. Relax.
Were you asleep, or were you in college drinking beer and been out of touch with reality?
But just for the audience, Ahmadinejad is probably one of the most hawkish and critical presidents of Israel, does not recognize Israel. So out of all presidents of Iran, he's probably one of the least likely to work with Mossad, which makes the story really difficult to believe.
Yeah, all this is Mossad putting this story out, just trying to generate more animus, you know, trying to split the folks in Iran, you know, get them at it, you know, trying to create division, make them suspicious.
Talking about Israel, there's one more story on that front to get your thoughts on. J.D. Vance is facing growing distrust among some pro-Israel Republican donors over his defense of the Iran ceasefire and increasingly blunt criticism of Prime Minister Netanyahu's government. Oh, also there's a report. I didn't save it. Saudi has recently conveyed a message. I'll skip this J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance one is just pro-Israeli donors are just unhappy with him. Fundraisers are unhappy with him in his stance, but that's pretty common knowledge. That's according to Political. But this is a more interesting one. That comes from Israel Hayom. Saudi has recently conveyed messages to senior U.S. officials indicating it is willing to resume discussions on joining the Abraham Accords. Saudi has conditioned any progress on two demands, and this is where it gets believable because these are impossible demands. The first one's not impossible. Replacing Netanyahu, that's demand number one, as Israel's prime minister after the elections. And number two is the impossible one. And reversing policies implemented by Bezalel Smotrich in the West Bank over the past 3 years. So all these settlements in the West Bank, reversing all these different settlements and policies. Saudi previously considered recognizing Israel in exchange for major concessions in the West Bank, including a commitment to a future Palestinian state. So that comes from Israel Hayom. I just find it really difficult to see an Abraham's Accords in the near future. I think, you know, it's probably less likely than it has been in a very, very long time. But that report came out from Israel Hayom. I'm not sure if other sources reported it as well. But it's important to mention the conditions that the main condition there is they want Israel to reverse their policies in the West Bank, which I don't think the Israelis would do.
Well, there's a better chance of you growing wings and being able to fly.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. So we've covered all the news. Maybe a good broad question now as things escalate, Larry. What do you expect to happen next, considering everything that we know so far of what's happening? The strikes. Let me tell you if there's any strikes anywhere else. Saudi airstrikes in Yemen. Okay, of course, I have to check before we speak. There's airstrikes, Saudi airstrikes in Yemen as we speak. So to add to the mix of updates.
And then Yemen will strike back against Saudi. And I think they'll ultimately go after Yanbu. And once they take out Yanbu, then Saudis are screwed. So, you know, what we're going to see, I think, is this is phase 2 of the war. It's going to go on for, you know, maybe a week and a half, and then the United States will be begging again for talks because the markets will be screwed up. Oil market's going to be completely screwed up. And, you know, everybody is betting that, oh, happy days are here again. You know, we're out of the woods, not by a far stretch at all. They're not out of the woods. They're into it up to their eyeballs.
Do you think it'll get as bad as it was at the peak of the war beforehand?
No, simply because, again, the United States has less munitions now. And each passing day, it's going to use up more of munitions that it cannot replace. And then you're going to start getting the pressures. Because remember, if they said they got like a total of 3,000 ATACMS missiles left, well, you know, Indo-Pacific's got a claim on 1,500 of those, maybe. You know, UCOM's got a claim on it, maybe 1,000. Maybe Centcom's now down to 500. They're going to be begging for them. And those other commanders are going to say, screw you. We need it for our mission. You know, just because this mission is getting everybody's attention doesn't mean those other missions go away.
Yeah. You've got the war in Ukraine raging as well. Doesn't seem to be easing either. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Russia is hitting with great ferocity every night these military targets in Kyiv, and Zelensky's admitted they're out of air defense. They're out of Patriot missiles. The Patriot missiles can work against aircraft. They can work against drones. They can work against some of the subsonic munitions, but supersonic, hypersonic, they're useless.
Yeah. Well, this is it, Larry. Good to have you back. Appreciate the coverage as always. So these are the latest updates. We'll probably see continuation of strikes by the Iranians on the Gulf. It's been limited. There have only been explosions in Bahrain. It's eased up now, but you know, usually we get pauses through multiple waves of attacks. We did get 3 ships attacked earlier, 2 confirmed, 1 unconfirmed. Ships attacked off the coast of the UAE, and we've got reports of Saudi airstrikes in Sadr, northern Houthi-controlled Yemen, ongoing as well. So, so it's pretty fair to say this is a regional war now. Unfortunately, it's been a regional war for a while.
Yeah, no, it's gone hot again, and you know, the United States, I think, will be the first to run out of gas on this, simply because they have so many targets they want to hit. And Iran has just they have pretty number of well-defined targets. You keep destroying the 2 air bases in Jordan, the air base in Qatar, the air base on Dhafra in UAE. The United States doesn't have a lot of other options then. So they'll be left with their aircraft carrier strikes. And again, there's, I could see Iran may finally say, okay, we're gonna take out an aircraft carrier. People say, oh, that can't happen. Well, maybe not. We'll find out. But I'm willing to bet that this is something actually Iran can do. And when they do it, then all of a sudden it's going to be a shock to the system. You know, people go, oh my God, how could that happen? Well, it happened.
Larry, always a pleasure.
All right, my friend. Sorry I didn't bring better news tonight.
Oh, it's impossible with all these explosions happening. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
All right, my friend. Hey, is this your last one? You can go get some sleep?
If things ease up, but we'll probably have to do a breaking one if things escalate again. So
okay.
We'll see.
All right. Later. Bye.
Take care, Larry. All right, guys. So we have reports of explosions in Iran ongoing right now. I'll be going live again. I'll probably be going live again because things will escalate as they did yesterday. I think I did lives till 8 in the morning, my time yesterday. So we'll see what happens. There's strikes in Saudi. There's explosions reported in Mahsar in Iran just a few minutes ago. And obviously we had the explosions about 20 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago in Bahrain. So we'll see what happens next, whether things will escalate. We'll have the surprise taco again, as we've had before. And I'll continue bringing you guys multiple voices a day with different perspectives, bringing people from the FDD, people from Iran, people from Israel, people from the US, people from the Gulf. So you guys could listen to different perspectives, different experts. We'll get economic experts, political politicians. We had Congressman Ro Khanna on the show earlier today. We had Professor Pape, we have Pepe Escobar, and the list goes on. And I'll keep doing this on a daily basis. I hope you enjoy the coverage, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments. And more reports of explosions in Iran. Just the same one. Sorry, it's the same one in Mashahar. But let me know what you think in the comments. I'm going to go through the see your feedback now. And if you see me live again, it means things are escalating. If you don't see me live, it means things are are calming down. But there is no scenario where things are escalating and I won't be live. That I can guarantee. Have a great day, guys. Thank you so much.